All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Eric Jones. I am the program coordinator and one of the full-time horticulture instructors at Forsyth Tech Community College. I'm also a registered landscape contractor and a licensed irrigation contractor in the state of North Carolina. This is a PowerPoint presentation that I created for my Hort 273 class entitled Horticulture Management and Marketing, and it's on business insurance. And I wrote this PowerPoint to introduce our students to the different types of insurance that they would need to carry on themselves, their employees, their business, doing any type of horticulture business. You know, all the way from workman's comp, general liability, professional liability insurance, vehicle insurance, but this PowerPoint introduces them to that. And let's go ahead and get started. Money. Anybody who tells you that money is the root of all evil really doesn't have any. Do you believe it? Or do you not believe it? It's just a quote. It's just a quote from a movie. Time and time again, I'll throw in quotes from a movie, and I always give credit to the movie. But I read a lot of books, I watch a lot of movies, especially on business. Anything that I think can help me make money, or if I can learn something from somebody that's making money, I'm going to watch it. And I'm going to have eyes open and ears open. But anybody who tells you that money is the root of all evil doesn't really have any. It's just a quote. Can anybody tell me what movie that this comes from? Can anybody tell me? All right, let's move on. The quote comes from The Boiler Room. Had Vin Diesel in it, Nikki Cate, and Giovanna Ribisi. Great movie. I've watched it time and time again. Every time I watch something like this, I learn something a little bit more, especially about how to make money. And that's why I'm in the irrigation business. That's why I'm in the lawn care business. That's why we had a Christmas decor franchise. We wanted to make money. Times were good. The 90s, everybody was making money. Coming through mid-2000, everybody was making money. When 2007 hit, guess what? The money stopped coming in. That's when we reevaluated our business and made some changes. But let's get back to insurance. We're going to continue on with our business insurance. You can't buy happiness, but you can buy peace of mind. Can anybody tell me what that peace of mind is? That peace of mind will cost you a pretty penny. And what do we call this peace of mind? We can go to bed every night knowing that we have this, that we have this certain piece of document that's in our office, protects our homes, protects our vehicles, protects our business, protects our workers, protects our assets. What is this peace of mind? Insurance. Insurance is that peace of mind. There is no way on the face of this earth that I would operate my business without workman's comp, general liability, professional liability, vehicle insurance on my vehicles. I could not operate. I couldn't go to sleep at night knowing that something could happen. Because you have one insurance claim or one accident that involves your company and you don't have insurance, you could lose your home, you could lose your business, you could lose any assets to cover the damages on what's happened in your business. The fine art of buying insurance is a delicate balance of anticipating the worst without crossing the line into the dark realm of paranoia and pessimism. This is a quote from the Small Business Legal Guide. What this is saying, that insurance is a fine art. You're expecting the worst, or you're actually planning for the worst and hoping that it doesn't happen. There's been some situations, everybody's heard the nightmares of insurance lapse. One of their employees has a car accident, or just everybody's heard of the nightmares. But what we're doing here, when we are purchasing insurance, we're trying to anticipate how much coverage do we need. Do we want $500,000 general liability policy, or do we need $1 million? That's for you to say. But what we're talking about here is that you have to balance it. You have to guess or estimate how much you're going to need. Do you want to spend that extra money for more insurance, or do you want to pay less and not have as much coverage? Only you can decide that. How much peace of mind do you want going to sleep every night knowing that you and your company are protected? All right, as a horticulture student, you don't know much about what's going on here. But insurance, would you believe that you need all types of this insurance when you graduate here and that you actually go out into the real world and start working for a living? Would you believe that you need all of this? Workers' compensation. If you have one or more employees working for you, you need workers' compensation. I actually was a home builder in the early 2000s when everything was going good. Built a few homes, didn't do it much, but the homes that I did build, when I bought lots from developers, I had to show them a certificate of insurance for workers' compensation and general liability. The thing with that, my workers' compensation and my general liability did not cover me. And it didn't cover any employees I had because I didn't have employees. I was a clipboard builder. I built the house, paper only. I subcontracted out every single thing. But I still had to have workers' compensation for my company and general liability. Now, the general liability would have protected me if something got stolen or the house caught on fire or whatever. Well, even some of that was covered underneath builder's risk, and we won't touch into that. But I had to show a certificate for workers' comp and general liability just to purchase a lot. And I built a couple custom homes. That was the first thing that my potential buyers asked for. Well, can we see a certificate of insurance? I carried $1 million, workman's comp and general liability. Didn't cover me. If I would have fell on my job site there checking out the job, it wouldn't have covered me. But I had to have it to show the developers and my clients. Then, upon that, I made every subcontractor provide me with the certificate of insurance that they had workman's comp and general liability. And once I got that certificate, I called and verified that these guys hadn't had a lapse or anything, that it was still covered. Now, the workman's comp, if one of my subcontractors insurance would have lapsed, mine would have picked up. But it didn't cover me or my employees. It would, however, come back and protect me from being sued or something from a guy falling off the roof and he forgot to pay his workers' comp. Property insurance. Yeah. Are you covering your vehicles, your equipment, your storage lot, your garage that you're keeping all your tools in, all your trucks, your equipment, your materials, all that's underneath property insurance. Professional liability. Some licenses require professional liability. If you're a landscape architect, you can get professional liability insurance. If you have a professional seal, an engineer, architect, you need professional liability in case you make a mistake in your design calculations. Whether or not you do, everything's perfect, you still need to have that insurance to back you up, because it's the one time that you don't have it and you do a miscalculation, and guess what? You'll be building the project or installing the landscape at your cost. All right, now let's go into each one of these types of insurance in a little more detail. Workers' compensation, it's mandatory. You have to have it. If you have one or more employees, you have to have it. What it does is it provides a safe work environment for you and your employees. They know that when they come to work, if they get hurt, that they're going to be covered. State law requires that you provide compensation for employees who suffer physical or mental injuries due to their jobs. Well, if you don't have workers' compensation and one of your guys falls and gets hurt, cuts the tip of his fingers off with a hedge clipper, and has to go to the hospital and you don't have workers' compensation, your employee's not paying for it. You are. It's coming out of your pocket. It's not going to come out of his. Plus, not only are you having to pay the hospital bills, you're having to pay for your workers' weekly salary or hourly rate. You have to pay a percentage of what they make a week. It's not the full amount. I mean, it's based on percentages and stuff because they're not having to drive to work, spend money on gas, stuff like that. But still, do you have enough money to pay that hospital bill? And we all know what hospitals charge and doctors' offices. Do you have the money to pay for that? And do you have the money to pay for this guy's salary who's not working, making you any money? And I always kid around with this. We have workers' compensation in the education field because sleep deprivation. We're up all hours of the night recording lectures, grading papers, and all of that, studying for irrigation seminars and pesticide certification hours. We do it all. Just a little joke there. All right, workers' compensation again. Corporate officers can elect to be excluded from coverage. I mean, if you're a huge landscape company, irrigation company, and you got 20 people and you're decide not to cover yourself because you're not going to be out there digging in the trenches or laying pipe, installing trees, whatever, you can elect to be excluded from coverage, only if you're an officer. State statutes dictate employees are eligible for workers' compensation whether an employer is guilty of negligence or not. Your employees have to have workers' compensation if you're at fault or not. In other words, you must cover your employees and buy workers' comp insurance. You have to have it. No ifs, ands, buts, or about it. Your worker compensation's premiums, they are based on the size of your payroll. How many employees do you have? How much are you paying? How much do you pay out a week in salaries? The types of jobs you do within your organization and the hazards employees face on the job. You know, roofers and tree companies, arborists, have two of the highest workers' comp premiums that there are. Why? Because their guys are working in elevated platforms. They're in the trees. They're climbing. They're on the roof. They're putting down shingles. They're high off the ground. So they're having to pay a lot more than an office personnel or design office. Unfortunately, the premiums for workers' comp insurance are on the upswing. Judges and the courtrooms, they are widening the guidelines for types of claims workers can file underneath mental duress. Hey, I'm getting stressed out too much at work. I need some time off. This is stressed me out. There's too much pressure on me at work. Well, normally that's going to happen with an employee. These are the types of guys that's not ever going to be our competitors because look at the stress that we're under running our own business. We can't file a claim on ourselves for mental duress. We can't even file a claim if we fall and get hurt. We've just got to watch employees like this. Examples of mental duress is firing an employee undiplomatically. And what does that mean? Did you not do it in a diplomatic manner? Well, you fired him in front of their colleagues. It began as a argumentative debate. It was some words said. They were fired under bad terms. They were embarrassed. They can file workman's comp. Asking the employee to work an enormous amount of overtime. It goes back to saying these guys would never run their own business if somebody's going to file a workers' comp claim against you for providing them with overtime that you're having to compensate them for anyway, unless they're salary. And that's a whole different ballgame. I was salaried for years. But it was in a family business. We were building a great business. But, with employees, I always feel that, somebody's either getting hurt. Either the employer's getting hurt if it rains all week and you have to write that check, or if it's the next week you're making up, working 70, 80 hours to make up for days missed, the previous week. Somebody's always getting hurt. I don't like salary. I believe that every man should get paid for every hour that he works. All right, if you have any more detailed questions or want further information, you can always contact the North Carolina Industrial Commission at ic.nc.gov or telephone number of 919-807-2500. All right, next we're going to talk about liability insurance or general liability. This is insurance that covers any claim of negligence by a third party against the company. Now, unless you work in a vacuum and have no contact with employees, customers, or suppliers, liability is a must. Liability is a must. All right, claims of negligence. Bodily injury. If you cause bodily harm or injure someone on purpose, you're out in the cold. Liability insurance is not going to take care of that claim for you. You've paid premiums, you've done what you're supposed to, and then you turn around and you do something of this nature, you're not going to be covered. You're not going to have your insurance company take care of a claim where you've caused bodily harm on purpose to someone. Same thing with personal wrongs. You do something intentionally to damage a piece of property of your clients, or you do something that's hurting them financially, liability insurance is not going to cover you. Emotional or mental duress goes back to your employees. They're suing you because of the stress, the workload, the bad things that you've done to them. Liability insurance is not going to cover it. Goes for slander and defaming someone as well. You've publicly announced or talked bad about someone on a radio commercial, TV, or whatever, and they sue you. Liability insurance is not going to cover you. All right, types of liability insurance policies. You have general liability, product liability, vehicle liability, and business life insurance. Can anybody tell me the difference? Well, I'm going to explain the difference to you. All right, general liability is going to cover you on judgments up to the amount of the policy limit plus the cost of the defending lawsuit. So you have $1 million policy. You have $750,000 claim against you. And you have a $230,000 attorney bill. I don't know what they make. It could drag out for years. Yeah, it's possible you could have a bill that big. But you're going to be covered. But if you have to pay out $750,000 and the attorney charges you for $300,000, you're going to be responsible for paying the difference. General liability also has some limits on its coverage. It's not going to cover you or your company on negligence or doing something that you're not supposed to do. It's not going to cover you on that. And it's not going to cover you on willful or malicious behavior with the intent of injury. So if you do something to harm somebody or damage property on intention, it's not going to cover you. And there are going to be times that employees are going to do something or say something to a customer. They're going to get ticked off. You just got to let them know. Insurance doesn't cover that. Examples of this willful damage or meanness to a client of yours from an employee. You have a client that slips on ice at your office steps. They come in, they're coming to pay their bill on a January day for work you did last summer for them. Happens a lot, don't it? But they come to your office and they're giving you a check. It's been icing, it's rained, it's ice up the steps. When they're leaving, they fall going down the steps. Your liability insurance will take care of that. That's what you have it for. Somebody got hurt, they fell, nothing mean was done. They're going to get paid for. They're going to be compensated. The hospital bill is going to get taken care of. Yeah, your liability rate will go up probably, but at least you're not having to pay for the hospital bill or money or damages owed to the client. But what If this client that owed you money from August and she's coming to pay you in January said something to one of your employees, and your employee's sitting there in the office taking a break, and he can't stand her. Well, she's going to leave, and he's following her out the door. He gives her a little push, and she falls on the slippery steps. Guess what? Liability insurance is not going to cover that. Your employee did something that he knew he was not supposed to do. He willfully went and tried to hurt the client. She can sue the company, and general liability is not going to cover you on that. Your insurance company will not pay for the claim if your employee pushes the client out the door. Makes sense. Well, guess what? Guess who's going to pay for it? You are, the owner of the company. Because the guy that's working for you don't have anything to pay it with. You know, they're not going to be sued. It's going to be the company. It's going to be you, the owner, that's going to have to pay for that. Yeah, your employee may not have a job after that happens, but you're still going to be responsible for paying that. All right, here's another example of what general liability will pay. If you buy $1 million worth of liability insurance and you settle a claim for $500,000, your insurance company will pay that amount and assume the legal cost of defending you. It's still within your $1 million limit. You paid the $500,000 they have to pay, and they're going to pay your attorney bills for defending you. All right, now let's move on to product liability insurance. It's expensive. You really need to consider how much you need. How much policy do you need? The probability that your product will unwittingly cause harm to customers. Is it going to happen? Do you know that your product's going to hurt somebody? I mean, it's supposed to be tested and tested again, and warning labels put on there if a kid 3 years and under shouldn't touch it or whatever. But the best protection for this type of claim is to just keep testing your product. Keep testing your product. As a lawn care operator or irrigation company, we're probably not going to need product liability. And like I said, the best protection for the business owner is not insurance, but your own competence, care, and commitment to excellence. A quote from the Small Business Legal Guide referring to product liability insurance. And like I said, being an irrigation contractor, being a lawn care provider, we're providing, everything we provide is a service. We're not really selling a product. Yeah, we're installing irrigation products that we've purchased, but we're selling a service. I never sell products, never. Vehicle liability insurance, it's crucial for certain businesses. We've got trucks on the road. We've got lawn care trucks out every day. We've got to have coverage on it. Company-owned vehicles. Employee vehicles used to conduct business. You can pay your guys mileage, whatever, but guess what? You need to make sure they have insurance on that vehicle. One, they need to make sure they have a driver's license. How many times again have we hired guys, put an ad in the paper, put an ad on Craigslist? Hey, we're hiring. Must need experience, associate degree in horticulture. Must have those qualifications. But the number one qualification we require is a driver's license. And we've had people time and time again answer the ads we put in the paper who have associate degrees, who have 4-year degrees, who have 10 years experience, who are married, who have kids, but don't have a driver's license. That one employee that you know is going to make a good employee doesn't have a driver's license. Well, if he doesn't have a driver's license, he's not going to have insurance on the vehicle that he's driving illegally to work every day anyway. Business life insurance. This is life insurance on your partner, on your vice president, or yourself. It's a key man insurance. It's similar to life insurance. It's employee or partner who is a valuable asset. It's a guy that you cannot operate your business without. Small businesses like ourselves, that's our spouse. That's our wives. They're the accountants for us. They're our bookkeepers. Something happened to my wife. Could we operate our business? No. Same thing with mom and dad. They couldn't operate the business without each other. Mom was handling all the paperwork. Dad was doing all the scheduling, doing the work. Mom did the billing. She did the payroll. She paid the taxes. It would have been very hard for them to have ran the business without one of them being there. Medium-sized, larger business, CEOs, all those guys have business life insurance. An example, a good friend of ours, veterinarian that we take our dog to, started out, it was him and a partner. They started their own veterinarian business. Both got married, had kids, everything, and built a great business. Well, my friend's partner passed away. And instead of having to divide the business and give his partner's wife half the business or whatever, they had business life insurance that took care of that. She was able to cash out. It paid her enough that she didn't have to want half the business. He was still able to keep and run the business. So it's an exit strategy for our families if something happens to us. We pass away, the business can have this business life insurance that'll pay our partners' families off so we don't have to start dividing and selling assets. Property insurance. Well, do we lease or own? If we own, the policy needs to include building and personal property coverage. Well, if we lease, we're going to have to probably have some additional insurance is going to cover it. But if we own it, we need to make sure that the building itself is covered and that all the contents of the building, your mowers, your supplies, do you have $10,000 worth of fertilizer sitting in the back? Do you have $5,000 worth of irrigation parts? The building catches on fire and you've got the building coverage, but you don't have the contents covered. You're just out of that product. Building coverage. It's going to cover permanent indoor fixtures. It's going to cover the outdoor fixtures. And it's going to include property used to service the building. And it'll even cover your temporary structures. But it's not going to include the contents. It'll cover the building. You can build that building back, but will you be able to fill it back with all the tools, all the supplies that you need to operate your business day to day? No. You've got to have personal property coverage on that as well. Personal property coverage, it's going to take care of your furniture, your office furniture, your computers, your desks, everything's needed to run the business. It's going to take care of your equipment, your machinery, your inventory, and your supplies. And you're going to have it if you're leasing the property. Well, because if that building burns down, your landlord's not going to cover what's inside. He's just got the building covered. You're responsible for having all your contents insured. If you lease, your lease agreement will include insurance obligations. They're going to tell you what you need to have. Renter's commercial insurance package is a policy that insures a landlord against any liability suits brought against you or your product. Usually covers damage from natural disasters and personal negligence. So, you've got to have this insurance because you're signing a statement saying that you're not going to sue him, that if something gets stolen or if a fire burns down or a tornado comes through, you've got the insurance that's going to take care of that for you. And then you're not going to be able to sue your landlord for the contents inside his building that you own. All right, 3 types of property insurance policies. You got 1, 2, and 3. Your basic form, that's fire. It's going to cover fire damage. You've got a broad form that's going to cover glass. You broke glass, somebody threw a rock through the window or whatever, it's going to cover that. And then you have a special form. It covers everything. Any type of damage, natural disasters, fire, theft, everything's covered. That's in your special form. Then your property insurance includes some floaters. Earthquake, vandalism, water sprinkler. Somebody smoking in the back when they shouldn't be and it sets the sprinklers off. Damages everything, water damage. Crime, fidelity bonds, boiler and machinery, business interruption and surety bonds. These are all different floaters that you can have on your property insurance. Professional liability insurance. It's errors and emissions, E&O insurance. It covers landscape architects, professional engineers, soil science, anybody that has a professional seal. You're a design professional. You're designing something and somebody else is taking those plans and building it based on your design specifications. It's going to cover you in case you make a miscalculation. You build a bridge over a creek, or you design a bridge going over a creek, or a floating dock or something, and it sinks or whatever, and it fails because of your design. Your professional or E&O insurance is covering you. The notorious B.I.G. said it best: either you're slinging crack rock or you've got a wicked jump shot. Nobody wants to work for it anymore. There's no honor in taking that after-school job at Mickey D's. Honor's in the dollar, kid. So I went the white-collar way of slinging crack rock. I became a broker. Another famous quote from Boiler Room. I had to throw that in there. I'm not an insurance broker. I'm not a stock broker. Was once a real estate broker. No longer practicing that. Had to throw it in there. This pretty much concludes our topic on insurance. The next slide is just for questions, comments, or concerns, and gives you a way to contact me. I appreciate it, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk about insurance. Have a good evening. Questions, comments, concerns. My name's Eric Jones. My email is jonesericw@gmail.com. Visit my website at www.ericwjones.com. I'd like to thank you for this presentation. Email me or call me with any questions. I'll be glad to answer them for them. Thank you.